You think about them more than you should. Years have passed, maybe a decade, maybe more, but they're still there. In the back of your mind, in your chest when certain songs play, in the standard you hold everyone else to, the one who got away, the one you still wonder about, the one you've convinced yourself was perfect. You've built a shrine to them in your memory. Every moment you shared has been polished and perfected. You've forgotten the bad parts, the real parts, the reasons it didn't work. All you remember is the feeling, the potential, the version of love you've never found again. And it's killing you. Not dramatically, quietly, it's keeping you stuck in the past while your present relationships crumble because no one can compete with the ghost. It is stopping you from fully investing in anyone new because you're still comparing them to someone who doesn't even exist anymore. Not really. Not the way you remember them. You've told yourself it was timing, that if you met them now, it would work, that they were the right person at the wrong time. And that story has become so comfortable, so romantic, that you've never questioned if it's actually true. You've turned them into mythology. The love that could have been, the relationship that would have worked if only the circumstances were different, if only you were older, if only you lived in the same city, if only you weren't with other people, if only. You've rewritten history in your head. You remember the butterflies, the late night conversations, the way they looked at you. But you've conveniently forgotten the fights, the incompatibilities, the very real reasons why it ended. You've edited out all the footage that doesn't fit the narrative you want to believe. When you're with someone new, you catch yourself comparing. They don't make you laugh the way that person did. They don't understand you the same way. The chemistry isn't as intense, and you use those comparisons as evidence that no one will ever measure up. That you had your shot at real love and you missed it. You've stalked their social media more times than you want to admit. You've seen their life unfold without you. Maybe they're married now. Maybe they have kids. Maybe they look happy. And that stings because in your version of the story, they're supposed to be thinking about you too. They're supposed to have the same regrets. But they probably don't. They've probably moved on completely while you're still stuck in a moment that ended years ago. You wonder what would happen if you reached out. If you sent that message you've typed and deleted 100 times, would they respond? Would they admit they think about you too? Would there be a chance to try again? The fantasy plays out in your head. You reconnect. You realize you're meant to be together. You get your second chance and this time it works. But you never send the message. Because deep down, you know the fantasy is better than the reality would be. You know that the person you remember probably doesn't exist anymore. People change. You've changed, and reaching out might shatter the perfect memory you've preserved. Your current partner can feel it. The part of you that's not fully there. The way you drift sometimes. The way you hold back. They can sense there's someone else, even if that someone is just a memory. And it's not fair to them. You know it's not fair, but you can't seem to let go. You've convinced yourself that what you had was special, unique, once in a lifetime, and maybe it was special. But you've also convinced yourself it was perfect, and that's where the lie lives. You've forgotten that it ended for a reason, that there were problems, that you weren't actually compatible in the ways that matter. You remember the highlights and you've forgotten the daily reality. You remember the vacation but not the arguments. You remember the passion but not the dysfunction. You remember how it felt in the beginning but not how it felt at the end when you were both miserable. You've idealized them because they're safe to idealize. They're in the past, they can't disappoint you anymore. They can't reveal flaws or fail to meet your needs because they're not actually in your life. They exist only in memory, and memory is easy to manipulate. Meanwhile, real people in your real life are trying to love you, and you're making it impossible, because they're competing with a fiction. They're being measured against someone who's been edited, filtered, and perfected by years of selective memory and romantic nostalgia. You tell yourself you're keeping the door open for destiny, that maybe someday you'll reconnect and it'll be right this time. But what you're actually doing is keeping yourself closed off from real connection, from real love that's available now, not hypothetical love that exists only in your imagination. The one who got away is almost always a psychological construction, not a reflection of reality. And understanding why you've created this narrative is crucial to breaking free from it. Human beings have a cognitive bias called rosy retrospection. We remember the past more favorably than we experienced it. Our brains automatically filter out the negative and amplify the positive as time passes. This is why people romanticize everything from past relationships to their high school years to the good old days that were never actually that good. With the one who got away, rosy retrospection goes into overdrive. You're not just remembering a relationship fondly, you're remembering what never was. The potential, the possibility, the version of the relationship that could have existed if everything had been different. And potential is always more appealing than reality because potential is perfect. Reality never is. You're in love with the idea of them, not the actual person. The actual person had morning breath and bad moods and annoying habits and fundamental incompatibilities with you. But the idea of them, the idea is flawless. The idea never disappoints. The idea is frozen in time at the best moment, before things got complicated or difficult or real. This is what psychologists call idealization. It's a defense mechanism. By idealizing this past relationship, you're protecting yourself from the vulnerability of investing fully in a present one. If you've already had your great love and lost it, then you don't have to risk getting hurt again. You can keep people at arm's length and blame it on never getting over the one. But here's what idealization really is. It's emotional avoidance. You're avoiding the risk of real intimacy by maintaining an attachment to someone who's unavailable. It's safer, less scary. You can pine for someone from the past without any of the actual work and risk that comes with real partnership. There's also something called the Zeigarnik effect in psychology. It's the principle that people remember uncompleted or interrupted tasks better than completed ones. Your relationship with the one who got away feels unfinished. It ended before you were ready, or before it ran its natural course. So, your brain holds on to it more tightly than relationships that had clear endings. The lack of closure makes it feel more significant. You never got answers. You never got to see it play out fully. So, you fill in the blanks with fantasy. You write the ending where it would have worked, where you would have been happy, where it would have been everything you needed. And that imagined ending feels more real than the actual ending, which was probably messy and disappointing and full of very good reasons why it didn't work. Let's be brutally honest about timing. Right person, wrong time is almost always a myth. If someone is truly right for you, you make it work, you adjust, you compromise, you figure it out. Timing is certainly a factor in relationships, but it's rarely the only factor. Usually, when we say it was bad timing, what we mean is, we weren't compatible enough to overcome the obstacles. We didn't want it badly enough to make it work. The harsh truth is this: if they were really the one, they wouldn't have gotten away. One of you would have fought harder. One of you would have made different choices. One of you would have prioritized the relationship over the circumstances. The fact that you did UNT tells you something you do UNT want to hear. It was UNT actually that right? You're also probably romanticizing them because of where you were in your life when you knew them. Maybe it was college, when everything felt possible. Maybe it was your 20s, when you were more carefree. Maybe it was before you had responsibilities and stress and the weight of adult life. You miss who you were then, and you've projected that nostalgia onto them. They represent a time in your life that felt simpler, more exciting, more open, and you've conflated missing that time with missing them. But going back to them wouldn't bring that time back. You can't recreate the context. You can't undo all the years and experiences that have changed you both. There's also the uncomfortable possibility that you're fixated on them precisely because they're unavailable. Some people are attracted to unavailability. It feels familiar, it feels safe in its unsafety. If they're always the one who got away, you never have to face the reality of actually building a life with them. You never have to see them fall short of the pedestal you've put them on. Unavailable love is a pattern for some people, rooted in attachment wounds. If you learned early in life that love is something you chase but never quite reach, you might be unconsciously recreating that dynamic by staying attached to someone you can't have. It feels like longing, it feels like depth, that's actually just familiar pain. And here's the part that might hurt most. You're using them as an excuse. An excuse not to be vulnerable with someone new. an excuse not to work on your current relationship, an excuse to hold back, an excuse to stay safe and guarded while appearing to be someone who's capable of deep love. After all, you loved them so much, didn't you? You're clearly capable of profound feelings. Except those profound feelings are for someone who isn't there. That's convenient. The one who got away serves a function in your psyche. They keep you stuck, and stuck feels safer than moving forward. Because moving forward means risking real hurt with a real person in real time. It's time to be honest with yourself about who this person actually was and what this relationship actually was. Not the edited version, the real version. Sit down and make a list. Not of their good qualities, of the problems, the reasons it ended, the fights you had, the ways you weren't right for each other, the red flags you ignored because you were infatuated, the daily annoyances, the fundamental differences in values or life goals. Write it down, all of it, because you've been doing the opposite for years. You've been cataloging the good and deleting the bad. It's time to balance the ledger. When you remember them, you need to remember all of them. The person who hurt you, the person who wasn't ready, the person who chose something else over you, the person who, if they really wanted to be with you, would be with you. Because here's the reality. If they felt the same way you do, if they also thought you were the one who got away, they would reach out. They would try. The fact that they haven't tells you something. They've moved on. They might think of you fondly occasionally, but they're not stuck the way you are. They're living their life. They're present in their relationships. They're not holding everyone to the standard of someone they dated years ago. You need to grieve what actually needs to be grieved. Not the loss of them, but the loss of the fantasy, the loss of the story you've told yourself, the loss of the excuse you've used to stay emotionally unavailable. Grieve it, and then let it go. Delete them from social media if you haven't already. Stop checking on them. Stop wondering about their life. Stop comparing your current partner to them. Every time you catch yourself thinking about them, consciously redirect your thoughts. This is a practice, a discipline. Rewiring your brain away from a pattern it's comfortable with. Start being fully present with the person you're actually with, if there is someone, or start being fully open to meeting someone new, if there isn't. But you can't do either of those things while you're still emotionally invested in a memory. Ask yourself, what would your life look like if you let this go? If you stopped carrying this person with you? If you freed up all the mental and emotional energy you've been spending on someone who is not even in your life? What could you build with that energy? Who could you become? What relationship could you actually invest in? You need to accept that you'll never know what could have been, and that's okay. Not every door needs to be walked through. Not every path needs to be explored. Some things are meant to end. Some people are meant to be chapters, not the whole book. The one who got away isn't your lost soulmate. They're a person you had a relationship with that didn't work out. That's all. The significance you've given them is something you created, not something they earned. What you're actually longing for isn't them. It's the feeling of possibility. The feeling of being young and open and full of hope. The feeling of loving without fear. And you can have that again, not with them, but with someone who's actually available, someone who's actually in your life, someone who's actually choosing you right now, not someone you're fantasizing chose you in a past that doesn't exist anymore. Let them go, not with anger, not with bitterness, just with honesty. They weren't the one, they were just someone you loved once who you're not compatible with, and that's okay. The one who got away didn't get away. You let them go because keeping them wasn't right. And you've been lying to yourself about that ever since. The harsh truth is that you're in love with a ghost, a memory, a story. And that story is preventing you from living your actual life with actual people who are actually here. They're not coming back. And if they did, they wouldn't be who you remember. Neither are you. Stop waiting for a second chance with someone from your past. Start taking the first chance with someone in your present. If this truth landed where it needed to, we're here every week cutting through the stories we tell ourselves about love. Subscribe to keep having the real conversations. The right person isn't the one who got away, it's the one who stays. Let yourself find them.